Welcome back to Speakeasy English, everyone. I'm David, and with me today, as always, is the insightful Sarah.
Hey, David, and hello to our fantastic listeners. Today, we're talking about something fascinating. A few words that English learners often use, but which native speakers almost never say in certain contexts, or they just sound a little off.
That's right. It's not about being grammatically wrong, necessarily, but about sounding natural, fluent, and authentic. Sometimes what we learn in textbooks isn't quite how it's used in everyday conversation.
Exactly. These are what we like to call ghost words. They're present in your vocabulary, but for native speakers, they often just float by without much purpose, or sometimes even make a sentence sound clunky. We've got 5 of them to dissect today.
And importantly, we're not just telling you what not to say. We'll give you plenty of great alternatives that will make you sound much more like a native speaker. Let's kick things off with our first word. The first word to consider reducing is very. Now, very isn't grammatically incorrect, but it's often overused and can make your English sound a bit weak or repetitive.
You'll hear learners say, I'm very hungry, the movie was very good, or I'm very tired. While understood, a native speaker will often choose a stronger, more descriptive adjective instead.
Instead of very good, try excellent, fantastic, superb, or outstanding. For very hungry, you could say famished or starving. Instead of very tired, how about exhausted, worn out, or drained?
The goal is to pick an adjective that already contains the intensity of very. For example, if something is very big, you could say it's enormous, massive, or gigantic. This makes your language much more vivid and expressive.
Think about it. It was a very good performance versus it was an outstanding performance. The second one paints a clearer picture and sounds more natural.
And sometimes native speakers use other intensifiers more naturally. Instead of very interesting, you might hear really interesting, super interesting, or so interesting, especially in informal conversation. But again, a single strong adjective is often best.
Our second word on the chopping block, especially in casual speech, is firstly, secondly, thirdly. These are perfectly fine in very formal essays or academic presentations, but they sound stiff and unnatural in everyday conversation.
You'll hear a learner say, firstly, I went to the store. Secondly, I bought groceries. A native speaker would almost never structure a casual narrative like that.
Instead, we use simpler transitions. First, next, then, after that, also, in addition, additionally, and finally or lastly. These flow much more smoothly.
For example, first I went to the store, then I bought groceries. After that, I went home. See how much more natural that sounds? Or if you're listing points, first, we need to consider X. Also, Y is important. Lastly, let's look at Z.
So, next time you're giving instructions or telling a story informally, swap out firstly for first, and for subsequent points use next, then, or also.
Our third word is another very common one, and it's good. Again, not grammatically incorrect, but it's incredibly generic and often overused, making your speech sound less descriptive.
The food was good. The weather is good. He's a good student. While understood, it lacks nuance. What kind of good? Was it delicious, pleasant, effective, competent?
Instead of good, think about the specific context. If the food was good, was it delicious, tasty, savory, or well-prepared? If the weather is good, is it sunny, pleasant, warm, or ideal?
And for a good student, you might say diligent, bright, conscientious, talented, or hardworking. Choosing a more precise adjective elevates your communication significantly.
The key is to push past the first adjective that comes to mind and think of a more specific one. It takes a little more effort at first, but it pays off in making your English richer and more engaging.
Our fourth word is actually a filler word, and it's like, when it's used repeatedly and without purpose, often between thoughts or phrases.
You'll hear, and then I went to the store and I saw my friend and we talked. While some native speakers, especially younger ones, do use like as a discourse marker, its excessive use can sound unpolished and distracting.
It can give the impression of uncertainty or a lack of vocabulary. The best way to reduce it is to pause instead. Embrace silence. Or, if you need a moment to think, use natural hesitation markers like or you know.
Like does have legitimate uses, of course. For comparison, it's like a dream. For examples, I like fruits like apples and bananas. Or for reporting speech informally, like he was like, I can't believe it. It's the filler usage we're targeting.
So pay attention to whether you're using like as a legitimate part of your sentence or as a verbal tick. If it's a tick, consciously try to replace it with a brief pause.
And our final ghost word that native speakers often use differently or avoid in certain contexts is actually. This one is tricky because it has correct uses, but it's very commonly misused by learners.
Often, learners use actually simply to add emphasis or to introduce a new point when it's not needed. For example, actually, I went to the park yesterday. It can sometimes sound a bit confrontational or like you're correcting someone.
The primary correct use of actually is to introduce something that is surprising or contrary to what was expected or previously stated. For instance, I thought it would rain, but it's actually sunny. Here, it creates a contrast.
Or, are you busy? Actually, I have some free time now. This shows a contrast to an assumed busyness. If you're just stating a fact, you usually don't need actually. Just say, I went to the park yesterday.
If you're using it as a general filler or just to introduce a new idea, try removing it or use a neutral transition like, well, so, anyway, or just start your sentence. Listen to how native speakers use it to detect the nuance.
So, to recap our 5 ghost words: very, often replaceable by stronger adjectives; firstly, secondly, thirdly, use simpler transitions in casual speech; good, use more descriptive alternatives; like, reduce as a filler word; and actually, use primarily for contrast or surprise, not general emphasis.
The goal here isn't to eliminate these words entirely from your vocabulary, because some of them do have correct and natural uses. It's about being mindful of how and when you're using them.
And the best way to develop this mindfulness is through active listening. Pay attention to how native speakers communicate. What words do they choose when they want to intensify something? How do they transition between points?
And of course, practice. Try actively replacing very with stronger adjectives this week, or try consciously avoiding firstly in your informal conversations. It takes effort, but it's incredibly rewarding.
Don't be afraid to experiment. Language learning is a journey of continuous refinement. Each small adjustment makes your English sound more polished and natural.
You're not just learning words, you're learning the rhythm and nuance of the language. And that's what truly sets fluent speakers apart.
Thanks for joining us on Speak Easy English for this fascinating discussion. We hope you feel empowered to refine your speech and sound even more like a native speaker.
Until next time, keep listening, keep practicing, and keep speaking easy English.
Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up and let me know your favorite part in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you in the next one.